Welcome. In this module, which is second in the series for a look at DISA STIGs, we're going to talk about the content and look at different screenshots. So when you actually go to the STIG viewer, import a particular STIG from either the library or individually from one particular file, then this is the content for the particular security control which is available. General information or the title, the discussion, check content, fixed text, and then there's a CCI references section as well. Okay, so as we saw for CIS, there were different sections for each control. Here, these are the sections for the DISA controls. Now, DISA puts the severity into three different categories. For CIS, what we saw was that they were putting level 1 and level 2. Level 1 was a security control, which is a typical security control. Level 2 was something more serious. Now, DISA puts them into three categories. Cat 3 is the lowest severity, and Cat 1 is the highest severity. Cat 3 says any vulnerability, the existence of which degrades measures to protect against loss of confidentiality, availability, integrity. So any measure which affects security, basically. And Cat 2 says any vulnerability, the exploitation of which has a potential to result in loss of confidentiality, availability, or integrity. A more serious step up. And then Cat 1 says any vulnerability, the exploitation of which will directly and immediately result in loss of confidentiality, availability, or integrity. So in Cat 1, there's more assurance, or there's actually more risk involved, than in Cat 3, there's less risk involved. So when you open the STIG viewer, there's a filter panel window, and you can set a filter. And you can set a filter by rule title, vulnerability ID, Cat 1, 2, 3, by CCI, or by rule ID. And many times it's helpful to look at the Cat 1 controls first, because those are the highest priority. And then you can actually create a checklist in the DISA STIG viewer. And the checklist is very helpful. So you go to the checklist drop-down menu, and you press on Create Checklist, which is in blue in your screen. And this creates the checklist. This is the checklist screenshot. And what this does is it creates a new window, a new tab actually. It actually makes the checklist for you, and you operate on this Java applet. Okay? And there's a lot of new functionality which this checklist does. And the purpose of the checklist is that you can maintain this for different assets, for different servers. You can create different checklists. And you can create as many checklists as you want, and you can save them. And you can enter the status of each checklist and maintain it. So you don't have to copy these controls into an Excel sheet and make columns and make status. You can all do it. For DISA, you can do it all in this applet. Now, the checklist screen is very helpful for DISA, and it gives you these capabilities. It gives you these sections in the checklist screens. The overall totals, target data, role, finding details, and the comments. It gives you this additional functionality in the checklist. So in the status window, or the status screen section, there are four different items: not reviewed, open, not a finding, not applicable. So the controls would either be not looked at or not reviewed. It would be open, meaning this is applicable and you need to do it. Or it would not be a finding, meaning that this particular control is already implemented. And it's not applicable, meaning you probably don't have that environment and this is not applicable for you. So this is what the totals screen looks like, because when you mark open or not applicable, then the checklist tallies the total control for you. And here, this window is showing us that there is one open control, there's total 5 controls, and 4 of them are not reviewed. For target data, this window shows, it actually gives you space and sub windows where you can enter the host name, the IP address, the MAC address, and the FQDN, fully qualified domain name. And you can enter this data for this particular checklist, and it will maintain this data for you as a reference. And in the status, this is what I was referring to. For this particular control, you can enter not reviewed, open, not a finding, not applicable. These are radio buttons which you can enter, and this will add up in the tally window, total window. This is the vulnerability information. Now, all the information has been condensed into this window, and you may be able to see that on the screen, you have discussion, check content, fixed text, CCI, and miscellaneous buttons which you can click on, and all the control information has been condensed into the vulnerability information window, because now you're looking at the checklist, not the STIG window. So what you should actually do is you should download the Java applet, which is STIG viewer. You should download the entire library or some specific controls. You should import them into the STIG viewer. Then you should create a checklist and get familiar with the different parts of the checklist. Thank you.